Hello everybody, Killer was in here, and today I will be doing with Deku was reborn as a slime, part 30. But before that starts, I would like to thank everyone for helping me reach 1000 subscribers. And if you can't tell, I am very happy right now. So thank you guys for watching my videos and subscribing. And as for the 1000 subscribers special, I kind of don't have an idea on what to do, so leave a comment down below to tell me what I should do. And with that out of the way, let's get back to the what if. So in the last part, I just basically covered how Bakugou was saved from the League of Villains, and also the fight between All Might and All for One. So, continuing the story, after defeating Phantom, Bellacor would have turned his attention to All Might and Kirishima. Him raising up his hand towards All Might and Kirishima, as he would say, "So, All Might, do you have any last words before you die?" With Bellacor charging up a wave of corrosion in his, well, the hand that is pointing towards All Might and Kirishima, as Kirishima would have hardened his entire body again, him trying to use 100% of One for All. But whenever he was trying to use 100%, this is when he would have heard Deku said, "Wait, Kirishima, don't!" But it would have been too late, as Kirishima would have activated 100% of One for All, as whenever he did, his entire body would start to break down, his entire body bursting out blood, him screaming out in pain as he would fall down onto the ground, him barely conscious, All Might being horrified by the scene, since Kirishima is in a pool of his own blood. All Might trying to see if Kirishima is, well, alive or not. But while All Might was doing that, Bellacor would have said, "What was that supposed to be? Self-detonation?" With Bellacor basically mocking Kirishima. Deku hearing that Bellacor is mocking his friend for trying to help All Might, he would have gotten, well, angry, as he would start to lose a bit of control, him unconsciously using 5% of Thor's armor, or well, Black Lightning, with Bellacor sensing that familiar energy again, him thinking, "This energy is just like the one I sensed in Hosu, but this is weaker." Wait a second, come to think of it, that kid in the USJ, Izuku Midoriya, he used something similar to this power. Don't tell me he's... this is my lucky day. Bellacor shouting, "Come out, Izuku Midoriya, I know you're there." Deku being surprised to hear that Bellacor knows he is, well, there. With Bellacor continue saying, "You better come out, otherwise All Might and this little kid is going to die." As Deku would have clenched his fist, him wanting to go help Kirishima and All Might, but knowing that if he does go out and fight Bellacor, he would have a huge chance of losing, since Bellacor did defeat Phantom, who was as strong as Deku. Him trying to think of a plan, as he would hear Bellacor say, "Last chance, Izuku Midoriya." Him charging up corrosion even more, Deku knowing that if he doesn't go out there, Kirishima and All Might would be killed. Him thinking, "Screw it," as he charged up 100% of Thor's armor, him immediately disappearing and reappearing right in front of Bellacor, him punching Bellacor as hard as he can, which would have sent him flying through a couple of buildings. Deku landing back onto the ground as he would turn around, him creating a ball of healing slime in both of his hands, with Deku putting each of his hand on Kirishima and All Might, this healing All Might and giving him back his stamina. But even though it did heal Kirishima and give back his stamina, it did not fully heal him. So Deku would have created another ball of healing slime, but before he can put it on Kirishima, Bellacor would have, well, collapsed a building. Him walking out of the rubble and saying, "So, if it isn't the slime boy, how have you been, Izuku Midoriya?" With Deku putting the healing slime on Kirishima's head and healing him. Him saying, "It would have been good if you were dead." Him standing back up, with Bellacor saying, "Come on, Izuku Midoriya, don't say such harsh things. It will hurt my feelings." Hurt your feelings? Don't make me laugh. If you did have feelings, you wouldn't attack my mother, me, and all those innocent heroes. Innocent? They were in my way. In your way of what? In my way of ruling the world, of course. Why? Why do you want to rule the world? Easy, because I got nothing else to do. Deku getting even more angry, him telling All Might to take Kirishima to a safe place, with All Might doing so since he knows that he doesn't have One for All anymore. Deku saying, "So you're killing all of these innocent heroes just to solve your own boredom?" Well, you can say that, as Deku would turn back around, him facing Bellacor face to face, eye to eye. Deku disappearing and reappearing right in front of Bellacor to punch him in the face again. Bellacor being off guard, he would get hit again, but this time he would stop himself from flying back any further using Black Mist, as he would create a sword saying, "Cheap shot," as Deku would appear right in front of Bellacor again, but this time Bellacor is, well, on guard, him swinging his sword towards Deku's face. With Deku dodging back, he would use his legs to kick Bellacor in the face, but Bellacor would have just grabbed his legs as he would have thrown Deku back onto the ground. Bellacor enchanting his sword, which is made of black mist, with corrosion, him stabbing his sword into Deku's stomach, as Deku would have grabbed the sword with his left hand, him using his right hand to punch Bellacor in the face, which Bellacor would have easily dodged, him pulling the sword away from Deku's stomach and turning around, him trying to slash away at Deku's, well, right arm. But whenever Bellacor pulled out his sword, Deku would have rolled to his left, him getting back up as he would create his own sword, him enchanting it with black lightning. After Bellacor turned around, he would see that Deku is, well, creating a sword, him charging at Deku to try and hit him before he finishes. But whenever he charged in, Deku would have just finished enchanting his sword with black lightning. Him seeing that Bellacor is rushing at him, he would have rushed back, as their swords would clash with one another, them having a sword battle. But after a few, well, clashes, they would seem to be neck and neck. But this is when Bellacor would start to get, well, angrier, with Deku feeling Bellacor's attacks getting stronger and stronger, them having to clash with one another again. But this time, Bellacor would slowly get the upper hand on Deku, him overpowering Deku with his, well, physical strength, since he is getting stronger because of the equipment that he is wearing, rage monster. And Deku, on the other hand, he is, well, feeling a bit weaker. Him being confused, but he doesn't have time to think about that, since Bellacor's sword is about to go straight into his head, as Deku would take a step to his right, him letting Bellacor's sword go straight into the ground, with Deku grabbing his sword with both of his hands. He would swing it down onto Bellacor's neck. But this is when Bellacor would have turned around, or should I say turned his head, and fired a wave of corrosion from his mouth. Deku, not expecting Bellacor to do that, he would have been blasted by corrosion at point blank, him being sent flying back, as Deku would finally have time to look at his own body, him seeing that the hole that is in his stomach is still there, and that it is not healing or even regenerating whatsoever. Deku thinking, Sage, why aren't I healing? With Sage analyzing Deku's, well, wound. As Sage would say, it's because Bellacor's corrosion is stronger than your healing. So you're saying the corrosion is faster than my healing? Yes, as this is when Bellacor would charge in towards Deku. With Deku dodging out of the way, he would fire a blast of black lightning towards Bellacor, which Bellacor would have dodged, him jumping out of the way as he would fire his own corrosion, as Deku would immediately absorb the sword back into his body, him throwing out his other hand as he would have used gluttony, with these two, well, blasts clashing with each other. Bellacor, knowing that Deku's gluttony would eventually overpower him, he would immediately dodge out of the way. But to his surprise, Deku is, well, right in front of him, him grabbing Bellacor's, well, hand, or should I say wrist. He would punch Bellacor in the face, Deku ripping off Bellacor's skill canceller and absorbing it, him putting his hand on the ground as he would, well, basically create an army of himself, Deku ordering all of his clones to attack Bellacor. By the way, all of these clones are 90% as strong as Deku, and while those clones are keeping Bellacor busy, Deku would have used this time to try and solve his own problem, this being the corrosion that is eating away his body, him using a healing slime on himself, with those corrosion immediately fading away. Deku thinking, Sage, can you calculate how many times I can use my healing slime? Yes, of course. You can use your healing slime for about 20 times or so. Okay, that is not very much. Sage, can I create more slime using my skill copy and paste? Yes, you can, but how much do you need? I'll need about 6,000 of those. How much would that cost? To make 6,000 of those healing slime, you will need slimes equivalent to your arm. So basically, you're saying that it will literally cost me an arm? Yes, it will. Fine, do it. Right away. As in the real world, Deku's arm would immediately go back into his body. But seconds later, his arm would reappear. Everybody being confused. As Sage would ask, Midoriya, quick question. Yeah, what is it, Sage? Why do you need 6,000 of those healing slime? Well, it's because I would have to do that whole thing again. You mean the healing suit? Yeah, basically that. Since last time it cost 75 of those healing slime to get 1 minute. 6,000 should be enough. Yes, it's going to be more than enough because it's going to give you 80 minutes. Well, it's better to be ready than sorry. Deku getting back up as he would see Bellacor yelling, "That's enough!" Him exploding with corrosion. This corroding away every clone that is next to Bellacor, with Deku calling back all of his clones as he would rush in. Bellacor seeing that the clones are retreating, he would look back to the real one, with Bellacor firing a wave of corrosion from his mouth, this hitting Deku right in the face. But this wouldn't even affect Deku, because, well, guess who's using healing all the time? Deku coming straight out of that corrosion and headbutting Bellacor. This surprising Bellacor, as Deku would have thrown an uppercut right into Bellacor's stomach, with Bellacor being sent stumbling back. But right when Bellacor got his balance back, Deku would have sent another punch straight into Bellacor's, well, face. This sending Bellacor flying into a building. Him getting back up to see that Deku is, well, charging a blast of black lightning, with Deku saying 100% Dragon Flash. Him firing a giant blast of black lightning, this going straight towards Bellacor, but Bellacor would have just said, "Well then, let's kick it up a notch." Him putting his hand in front of the blast as he says, "Absorb." Him absorbing the entire blast of black lightning. Deku being confused as Bellacor would have raised up his other hand. Him firing the same blast of black lightning towards Deku. Deku seeing that Bellacor just took his attack and, well, reflected back towards him, he would remember something. Him creating a sword and saying, "Reflect." This reflecting the blast of black lightning towards Bellacor again. Bellacor seeing that Deku has his, well, sword, he would get a bit angry. Him absorbing the blast that's going straight towards him and appearing right in front of Deku. Him saying, "Using my weapon won't do you any good, slime boy." Him punching Deku as hard as he can, which would have sent Deku flying into a wall. By the way, that wall is, well, where Todoroki, Ida, and Momo is. Deku being confused as to why they are still here, them saying that they have no way out. With Deku using fog communication, he would have told All Might that they are, well, still there. All Might getting the message, he would tell the heroes that there is still some civilians there, or well, in their location. And while this was happening, Bakugou would have gotten back up. By the way, if you are wondering where he was sent flying away because of All Might's United States of Smash. And whenever he got back up, he would have saw that Deku was, well, sent flying by Bellacor. Him thinking that Bellacor is the enemy, he would try to attack Bellacor. Him charging up a ball of fire as he would blast that ball of fire, or well, fireball, at Bellacor, with Bellacor catching that fireball and absorbing it. Him thinking, "Wait, this energy, it's magic energy. I thought this world doesn't have magic." Him looking at Bakugou as he would appear right in front of him, using black mist. Him grabbing Bakugou by his throat and, well, trying to sense where the magic energy came from, or well, the fireball, And yes, he does know how to sense magic, since he is from the other world. With Bellacor grabbing the magic bracelet and saying, "Thank you, I'll take that." As Bakugou would try to stop Bellacor from taking the magic bracelet, him saying, "Give it back." "Oh, you want it? Come and get it." Him slamming Bakugou to the ground as Bakugou would spit out a bit of blood, with Bellacor stepping on Bakugou's chest and putting on the magic bracelet. But this is when Deku would appear from behind Bellacor, him grabbing Bellacor by his head and throwing him across the battlefield and off of Bakugou, him saying, "Kachan, are you alright?" "Yeah, I'm doing great, Deku." "Also, he took the magic bracelet." Deku being shocked as he would turn back to Bellacor, him trying to, well, stop Bellacor before he can use magic, since Deku don't know what Bellacor can do with magic. But right when Deku was about to tackle Bellacor, Bellacor would have disappeared. Deku being confused, he would look around to see that Bellacor is right behind him. Bellacor saying, "Well then, let's try out some classic fire magic, incineration." Him releasing a giant blast of fire point blank from behind Deku. But Deku is, well, immune to fire. Him turning around and trying to punch Bellacor. But whenever he turned around, Bellacor is not there, as he would see that Bellacor is about 10 feet away. Him rushing straight at Bellacor, as Bellacor would have smiled, him saying, "Dark magic, black hole." Him creating a black hole right in front of himself, with Deku seeing that he is about to go straight into a black hole. He would immediately turn around and stab his sword, or well, tripping into the ground, him trying to stop himself from being sucked into the black hole. Bellacor using black mist, he would float up into the air, him saying, "It's time to go into the abyss, Izuku. Dark magic, chains of the abyss." As from within the black hole, chains would start to appear and go out of the black hole, with those chains wrapping around Deku's, well, body parts. You know, his legs, his waist, his arms, and well, his neck. Them trying to pull Deku into the abyss, or well, the black hole. As Deku would create another sword, him stabbing the sword into the ground to try and stop himself from, going into the black hole. And while Deku was, well, being sucked into the abyss, he would create a clone from behind his back, which has a pair of wings. The clone using the pull of the black hole and wind manipulation, he would go over the black hole and straight into Bellacor's, well, face. The clone punching Bellacor in the face as it, or should I say, he would create another clone, with this clone going towards Phantom, him trying to wake up Phantom. With the clone who punched Bellacor in the face, he would fight with Bellacor. By the way, these two clones are as strong as Deku. Now, Bellacor would have, well, covered his entire body with corrosion, him saying, "I didn't think I would have to use this corroding armor," as he charges in to fight the clone. With the other clone, he would have woken up Phantom, her getting back up as she would put her hand in front of her, as she releases a wave of hellfire, this going straight towards the clone that's fighting Bellacor, with that clone knowing that there is a wave of hellfire going straight towards him, since, they are sort of connected. Him luring Bellacor to go to his position as he would jump off the way. Bellacor being confused as he would see the oncoming hellfire. Him just standing there as the hellfire would consume him. But he would just, well, use absorb. Him absorbing all of the hellfire. As while Bellacor was absorbing the hellfire, one of the clones would create two swords, specifically two triffings. Him giving one of those swords to Phantom, her taking it as she would enchant it with hellfire. The clone doing the same thing, but instead of hellfire, not it, he would enchant it with black lightning. And after Bellacor absorbed all of the hellfire, all three of them would go rushing towards Bellacor, them tag teaming on Bellacor in, perfect sync. Phantom swing her sword down into Bellacor's face, but Bellacor would have catched her sword, as clone number 1, which is the clone that has a sword, he would try and cut into Bellacor's stomach, which Bellacor would have caught the sword again. With clone number 2, the clone that doesn't have a sword, he would punch Bellacor in the chest, which would have sent Bellacor flying back, as the clone would continue to punch into Bellacor, with the others rushing in as well. Bellacor, knowing that he can't take all three of them at once, he would try to, pick them off one by one. Him grabbing one of clone number 2's attacks and throwing him to the side. Bellacor rushing forward as he would punch both clone number 1 and Phantom in the stomach, which would have sent both of them flying back, as this is when clone number 2 would jump on top of Bellacor, him smashing on Bellacor's head, but Bellacor would immediately grab the clone's, legs, him throwing the clone aside again, but this time he would immediately use magic, him saying, "Dark magic, Iron Maiden," with the clone being trapped in a, Iron Maiden, with spikes going straight through the clone. And while this was happening, Deku would have been trying to find a way to get away from the black hole, him asking Sage if there is any way for him to escape this black hole, since he can't just fly away from the black hole just like clone number 1, because he is in, chains that's pulling him into the black hole, with Sage telling Deku an idea. Deku thinking, "Well, I'll leave the rest to you then, Sage," as he lets go of the sword that's stopping him from being pulled into the black hole, him being sucked into the abyss. Everybody being in shock, as Bellacor would have said, "Well, there goes your main body. It's time to die, Izukumi Doria." But to Bellacor's surprise, the clones was not affected, as Bellacor would have been punched across the face, with clone number 1 saying that Bellacor is wrong to think that Deku is, defeated, as Bellacor would grab the face of that clone and rip it apart, or crush it, him engulfing the clone's body in corrosion, and since the clone doesn't have the, constant healing, he would be, killed. But this is when the Iron Maiden would start to, crack. It's exploding, as clone number 2, or should I say Deku, would walk out of that Iron Maiden. If you're wondering how Deku is, there, basically whenever Deku was pulled into the black hole, he would have immediately used Gate and appear inside the Iron Maiden, with clone number 2 going back inside Deku, as he would just, well, break the Iron Maiden with 100% of Black Lightning, as Deku would have rushed in and punched Bellacor in the face with his right hand, but Bellacor would have catched Deku's attack and thrown his own, him also throwing a right punch into Deku's face, which Deku would have caught also, him kneeing Bellacor in the chest, which would have sent Bellacor stumbling a little bit, Deku landing back onto the ground as he would fire a blast of black lightning straight into Bellacor, but Bellacor would have used Absorb, him absorbing the black lightning, as this is when Phantom would have fired her own Hellfire, this also hitting Bellacor, as he would absorb it again, him saying thank you, as he would fire those two attacks back towards themselves, them being hit and sent flying back. Deku thinking, Sage, can you calculate the chance of us winning this battle? Yes, of course. Calculating. Calculate complete. If this goes on, your success rate would be 35% and dropping. Wait, what? Why? Because you just keep firing a blast of black lightning and hellfire towards him, which he can absorb, this making him stronger, and you're also pissing him off. Okay, then how can we increase our win chance? You can increase your win chance if you use your full power. You mean full power black lightning? No, not that. I mean hellfire and black lightning. That means I'll have to eat Phantom. Basically, yes. Okay, you heard that, Phantom? Phantom saying, yes, I know, but if it gets the job done, then sure. Also, I'm just a clone, so of course you can absorb me. As in the real world, Bellacor is walking towards them, slowly, because he thinks that he can definitely win. But this is when Deku would put his hand on Phantom's shoulder, him using Predator, and, well, eating Phantom. Everybody being shocked, including Bellacor, as Deku sparks with Hellfire and Black Lightning, him rushing in and uppercutting Bellacor in, well, the chin. Bellacor being sent flying up into the air, but soon after, Deku would have grabbed the necklace that is on Bellacor's neck, him ripping the necklace off, and by the way, that necklace is the healing necklace. Deku absorbing the necklace into his body as he would start pummeling Bellacor, since if he did use long-range attacks, he would just, well, make Bellacor stronger. Now, Deku would have punched Bellacor so hard that it broke Bellacor's corroding armor, as this is when Bellacor would say, if I'm going down, then you're going down with me. Dark magic, curse of bonding. As Deku would see a dark chain wrapping around his right hand and Bellacor's right hand. Bellacor saying, go on, kill me, Izuku Midoriya. Let's see what happens to you as well. Deku saying, so, of course, eh? Let me show you something that you will be very surprised by. Bellacor being confused, as Deku would simply say, light magic, purify, as the chains around Deku's right hand would disappear. Bellacor being in shock, as Deku would say, and guess what that does, Bellacor? It purifies curses. Deku grabbing Bellacor's neck and saying, exactly. And you, Bellacor, will never, ever hurt anyone ever again. As Deku puts his hand in front of Bellacor's heart. But right when he was about to stab it through Bellacor's heart, this is when All Might would come and stop Deku. Him telling Deku that he doesn't need to kill Bellacor, and that he will be put behind bars, with Deku explaining to All Might that Bellacor can easily escape, and that there is only two ways to stop him. You either kill him or you seal him. All Might being confused to hear the word seal, but knowing that nothing can change Deku's mind, he would just tell Deku to seal Bellacor away, or well, the Reaper, as Deku would just knock out Bellacor, him telling All Might that he will do the sealing elsewhere. And by the way, the cameras are still rolling, and they caught everything. But before Deku leaves, he would, well, basically create a giant bubble of slime as he would retract those slimes to reveal Phantom being inside, her being completely healed. Now this is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe. That would be amazing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!